I'm like contemplative of my language and my own personal exposure. Part of me wants to just absolutely tell the truth and rat myself out. Like, at my inability to fully discipline myself, to fully love myself, and take full responsibility for myself, and take care of myself and love myself. Meaning brushing my teeth 2-3 times a day, brushing my hair once a day, bathing once a day, eating once a day responsibly. Sometimes I barely drink water. I can be extremely irresponsible, and I work really hard. I put my work above everything else, and then it makes me feel like my soul, my life, my time is worth money, and it makes me think of this shadow work video that I really want to keep working on and building. I have a really nice notepad put together, which I recently found. I'm still building notes, and yeah, I have a handy dandy notepad here and a pen right here. I'd like to talk about the shadow of life, right? We can talk about different forms of framing, the sides of the spectrum, different shades of light, and I'm channeling it now live with you here. With great risk that we could get called and interrupted, which is also why I would like to disconnect from the telephone. I do desperately struggle with boundaries, which is why I added this book to my wish list recently that someone told me about at my favorite restaurant, Namaste. The shades of light and how I like to think about darkness, just kind of like how it completely absorbs the light. It's nothing but light, right? Like a black hole. I like to look into that colors thing, like about white and black, and how everybody thinks that white is like the absence of color, but really it's all colors or something like that. Or I forgot. It's something really unique like that, though. Yes, I'm receiving text messages saying thank you. I'm just thank you. It wasn't a phone call. I know a lot of people don't understand why I'm doing my process, or why I'm releasing these things, or what's happening in the world. And I guess I attempt to share my personal experiences for myself to be more mindful of and take note of and have more recollection. And also, yes, of course, if I can help someone and prevent them from having to go through what I have already learned. So what I had experienced was not in vain. Of course, that's the story narrative that the ego would like to absorb and contain and be. Although I recognize that's just a narrative and it's a false dichotomy or story. I can't stop having my space invaded. I can, but I'm telling myself that I can't, and therefore I'm allowing myself to have my space invaded, so I need to change things. Sometimes I feel like I can't tell the truth. And like I don't like feeling like I can't tell the truth, or that I'm going to be punished for telling the truth, and therefore it makes me want to tell the truth even more. So I'm at a battle. So we'll see. I'm listening to my intuition here, okay? I'm trying to behave like non-erratically and be more mindful in what I'm creating. However, I recognize I've already created things that I can't undo, and now I'm kind of learning through experience to know better. I've been through a lot of depressing experiences, which basically were my lack of expressing what I was experiencing. And from my lack of expressing, it left me in a chaotic field of like unresolving my problem because I was only learning through experience and I had not dealt with anyone that had been through what I had been through. Therefore, I had become a path maker, or way shower, as I have learned from Karen Neverland. That's a language that's plugged into me. Sometimes, oh. I want to talk about the price that we pay for our life. And how we spend our time and we pay to live by recognizing what we are investing in with our mind, our energy. You know, why do you think man has been paid for their labor, their energy, and the jobs and the mental ones and all those different things, and what each one is labeled for what's expected from the character? And what kind of character have you made yourself into as you tell your own story, your own narrative? What do you find pleasure in building? And will you take notice and responsibility that you are fully responsible for generating happiness and bliss and peace? Or if you even choose those things, or if you find pleasure in the chaos and the dance of the divinity of what is. There are consequences when you don't follow the rules. What is that called? That's a lyric from The Devil's Carnival. It's a movie from the people who did Repo the Genetic Opera. My phone is being so blown up, and I have just like communicated to these people that are blowing me up how much I need to be alone and away from my phone. And still, like, if I turned off my phone, and the more that I express to people that I want to be alone, the more people press my boundaries and see like, hey, am I welcome? What about me? What about me? So it seems like I'm learning through experience how to create my sacred space and my holy lands. And like now I'm fantasizing about just, having my own piece of land, and just like I can build whatever structure, but I need a piece of land or a piece of spot in the world, right? That just feels right for me and that brings me peace. And I'm definitely drawn to Washington. And frankly, I'm just at such a like releasing and just like it's just so intense. I can't even give language to the emotions that are just like arising. But I feel called to get in the car and just go for a really long drive. I'm kind of discovering what's wrong with my car, you know. Supposedly I might need power steering fluid, so I'm going to have to look into that. So I found that out. But I'm also visioning all these other things, like maybe eventually the way that I'll let go of this vehicle is I'll bring it to the gathering of the Juggalos and sell it to somebody like that, you know, someone who's actually going to really appreciate all that is of this Juggalo-mobile. I'll even get the custom plate. It'll be real fun. That would be one way to change the story of the gathering coming up. Man, my spidey senses are just like going off in all kinds of different ways. And it's kind of just like some ways depressing because like I'm not expressing them, and like when I do that, people don't believe me, and that only I can stand behind my truth, and that I can't even get to the source that I'm trying to get to. If that makes sense. I'm trying to make changes and raise people's awareness. Like, people have no idea. And sometimes I just want to like expose and let it be known, and then other people are like, no, don't do that, and then yeah, exactly, you're punished for that, or like there's judgments. It's frustrating because you want me to be honest, so then you wonder why there's so many liars in the world when you punish them for like admitting who they are, that they really are attracted to this one person, or that they're really into this one thing that you say that they're not allowed to. And nobody really likes rules. Everyone likes expressing themselves and being their own person. And what's happening is that right use of will is being abused, and everyone's being, what I would say, is nosy, right? Everyone's like sticking their nose into everybody else's business and like has a problem with it because it goes against like who they are and what they would do with their person. It's like, exactly, like not everyone would pick their nose or itch their nose on camera. They'd be like, no, fight it. Or like, exactly, then people instantly say cocaine, or like there's always jokes, or everyone wants to like, there's always shadow. This is just another small side of the spectrum of all this shadow work stuff that I've been mentioning before. The unseen, the things that people don't talk about, the things that make people feel uncomfortable, such as cursing, right? That's also a form of framework. How are we framing things up? What side of you are we seeing? Part of me just feels like crying and dying. It's just like, like I can feel my soul dying, basically. Like old Trina is no longer. That little girl has seen the world in new ways and it's just not the same. It's like constant rebirth of the self and the cells, and just like a deep awakening. And I feel like I'm holding all this space and all this density and helping all these people, and all these people are investing in me and believing me, and then sometimes I feel like I'm not meeting people's expectations. As a matter of fact, I know that I'm not, and that I never will, and that people are seeking in me to get things that they can only find within themselves. And like, frankly, a lot of times I'm learning that through personal experiences and diving into other people. I'm doing my very best. My very, 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 very best. And I feel so blessed. I do. I do. So I'm going to disconnect, focus on me, continue my process, take a bath. Hey, wait. Before we end this, can we also talk about how brainwashed people are as a society, basically? You know, you don't have to bathe constantly. You don't have to wash your hair every single day. As a matter of fact, it's really good to have some of your natural oils. However, a lot of times, a lot of you are eating, like, really bad oily things, and, like, then you are what you eat, so it secretes out your skin, right? Like, your skin is basically, like, excreting, or... there's all kinds of inappropriate words I could use to explain what's happening as all of the what you eat comes out of you in your face, basically, and all of your epidermis, all of your skin. That's the shadow of things. People aren't really talking about these things, okay? Just like when you put chemicals or lotions or anything on your skin, it eats it. So if you're cleaning products, this is why you got to be wearing gloves. I need to form a grocery list and get some gloves for my cleaning job, because I've been cleaning without using gloves or masks. So I'm going to have to use masks too. And shout out to Renee, Masked Mermaids, for my mask, because I think I'm going to use like one of those masks while I'm cleaning. And, that's really going to be helpful, I'm sure. We'll see, you know. I still need to work on my breathing, and I'm still clearing and healing all these things, and I'm still learning how to deal with things. Like, remember, I want to move my story, my narrative, my inner dialogue tells me that, alright, I want to go to Washington, but it's so cold there, and I'm freezing here, and I'm dying here, and I'm like, oh my god. I'm trying to figure things out. So I'm on like this intense journey of basically finding myself and making my way through the universe until like there's a space held for me, until I'm welcomed where I choose to be. And there's very few people who are just giving generously, that are like holding space for me, like, yeah, let her do what she wants, instead of saying, no, here, I'll give you money if you do this, not if you do that, you have to do this. Like, that gets a little bit out of control, and a lot of people lose heart or lose connection. They don't even know what that is, and like, even mentioning that just makes people feel uncomfortable and turn the television off. Hence why we're not really talking about it. We're just kind of masking over those things and causing triggers in emotions that like make people think or feel certain ways at certain cues. Pavlov, if you will. This has been going on a while. And I don't mean this video only, you know what I mean? Man has been questioning these same very things for many, many lifetimes. And yes, a lot of people already know to some answers to some questions that you may be seeking. And then what also happens is sometimes there's a lot of things that you don't know, and you have no care or investment in knowing or exploring those things. And it doesn't necessarily make it wrong. It just means that you're not really in a place to be receiving as you choose. You know, you may be very close-minded to trying this or that, thinking that it's going to be this or that, when really it's nothing like that. Kind of just like you're experiencing all these things and you're labeling it as this or that, this story or that. But like none of that is true, and just you have all these expectations and attachments to. And you need to kind of free yourself from your own personal narrative and personal experiences that are causing you great pain and turmoil. You need to hold a space for yourself and love and respect yourself, to not put yourself through things that you consciously know are affecting you in abrasive and harmful, disgraceful, all of those things. I'm learning a lot of personal lessons. I feel like everybody is, right? But I guess like my excuse is I try to create stories. One of them is the number 9 symbolizes self-mastery and know thyself. So since I'm 27, 2 plus 7, right? I'm starting my Saturn's return and all of these great things. I'm also sensing all these other things going on. Energetic properties. People are extremely nosy and will totally be energy vampires and collect as much data on you as possible. That's kind of what doxing is all about. Kind of like being a predator. You know, there's predator and there's prey. And frankly, all of us can be both. Consciousness, breath, it's just the way as is. I'm going to have to do some extreme yoga and push-ups and some vigorous exercise to kind of like get this out of my system. I'm going to have to put some socks on and go for a walk. Definitely need to start doing that more. Definitely want to do that tomorrow. I have my alarm set for sure. I have a lot of things I'm in the process of doing. And I'm just trying to be patient with myself and graceful and enlightening myself every step of the way. Attempting to do no harm. Attempting my best. And still, even then, messing up. And then having to have compassion for myself and loving myself and saying, oops, I'll try again. And I feel like there's a lot of us in this process. And for some, it can be unbearable. So, bear with us as we clear out a lot of those densities and those energies, you know. There's a lot of people who go through that and just like don't talk about it, and just their process is so brutal. So brutal. And they just don't talk about it. And then they go by all by themselves. Like, this story has been told time and time again. It's kind of like that old saying, you know, if a tree falls in the woods and nobody hears it type thing, does it change anything? It's like the same thing. Like, there's all these things going on in the world and still people have no conscious awareness, and like there's all this great vibrational magnetic force that makes its way all around. It's that Google video. I'm gonna have to share that on my Facebook fan page, and I'll call it the Hive Mind, and I'll put like a bee emoji or something. You can find it on my Twitter. I want you to find me on my Twitter. You can email me, wewanttrina@aol.com. Wewanttrina, Trina. Oh, please, 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 please be patient with yourself in your process. You know, I apologize. I keep repeating the same things. I'm kind of we're in this Mercury retrograde where it's just like it's really, really hard to get ahead and hard to make communications. I hear Zach in my head telling me you can tell a lot about a person when you find out what they're willing to risk losing. Some people behave in ways where they're willing to risk losing a lung, right? Or they're willing to risk losing their nuts. Like, right? Because they just don't care so much, and they just, yeah, right? They play with themselves all day. Or like some people, they mess with their head all day. Some would call that mental masturbation, where you just like think of all these situations. Some people have an active mind. They don't know how to channel that mind. They don't know how to channel that energy, and they just drive themselves crazy, or they grind themselves and they put on weight, or they just seek food, people, places, things, animals, and then they struggle to take care of themselves. So it's a really, really difficult process. And we just have to be gentle with ourselves and others, and still, like, we're still punished. You understand how that works? Like, basically, like, if I eat really bad, if I eat McDonald's and drink soda all the time, then my body's going to punish me because I'm going to feel bad later, or, like, I'm going to be hungry a few minutes later, or, like, yeah, my stomach's going to be all messed up, or I'm going to create weight, right? There's all these stories that formulate from these things, and some people are totally okay with that. And Teal Swan actually does a pretty great video on weight that I enjoyed personally. There's a lot of shadow in it. There's so much. She's doing so much shadow work. It's so intense. It's so intense to witness. And I'm grateful for it. It's just, whoa, it's just all this density, and it's so perfectly compact. And some people put in so much work into their video stuff, and I'm just like, me. I'm just me. This is, hey, you know, I have my own deliverance of what I'm going through. Oh man, I just feel like superiorly mutilated into the ground. Like, I have super overextended myself. And once I've done all of these like yogi practices and just like all this energy work and all this great stuff, like, there is no it's like the little devil on your shoulder type thing, like the ego voice, like, there's no tomorrow. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's like a shadow. Or I'm struggling to reverse the other side of the spectrum, because again, we are in super, super, like, it feels like shadow, and I can't really fully figure out what it is. The only fire energy that I was able to find in the stars really was Sagittarius and Jupiter, which I almost feel like is the home of it, but I don't really know that for a fact. So I need to research that, because I don't know anything about astronomy. Not anchored in. I've been talking smack on Twitter, being like, I'm red tenting it up. It looks like it might rain. I'm getting all kinds of visions and things that I'm seeing. It's bringing me great pleasure and joy. I'm going to have to put in a lot of work. I'm going to really have to nurture myself and take Epsom salt baths. And if I had my way, I'd go to the salt spa. You know, I have all these things I wish to produce. And I'm thankful for those of you who have invested in me and believed in me and done investments in me, that I'm able to keep progressing ahead. It's almost shameful to have to accept where I'm at, because I'm just like, it's balance. We're accessing this Libra energy coming. So let me nurture myself, get under some heat. I feel like I'm getting like a feel like I'm gonna sneeze, really. I don't have a tissue. What is it called? Something weird called. It's a traditional Chinese medicine thing. Wind cold, exterior wind cold. I need to continue studying my traditional Chinese medicine. I have so many books. I need to like become focused. And I've been telling the same story forever. And I'm not going to get it by talking about it. So I'm going to have to completely unplug and pull this plug on this YouTube stuff and everything else. Like, I'm thinking I'm only going to, like, I'm going to create a schedule. Exactly like I need a schedule. I need to create time blocks. Like maybe on Tuesday and Thursday from 10 a.m. till 11, like, I'll go live on OnlyFans, and then, like, on 12, I don't know, maybe I'll do like 15, I don't know how I'm going to figure this out. I have no idea how I'm going to create structure. There's so many different interfaces for it can be received, and some places are more guaranteed to make, like, income, you know. So I'm just trying to figure out how, like, can I spend my energy more wisely and be repaid back to me more wisely, you know, and make better, like, smarter investments into myself. And, like, really clean myself up and really learn from my bad habitual patterns. I've really made, like, a lot of mistakes, and I'll admit that, like, I've hurt people, I've done wrong, I've done things when I knew I shouldn't have done them, you know, and just, like, I feel like I'm still, like, I'm still cleaning up my own mess, and, like, people still haven't forgiven me, and, like, I'm struggling to forgive me for those things, and I need to clear out all of those densities and have forgiveness. Speaking of which, I have so many other videos that I need to create that are going to be more dedicated and educational and, like, shorter than, you know, what I'm making here. I'm, like, my hair is probably a reflection of what I'm going through. I have all these knots. Definitely have more shine and sparkle than before. But yeah, the hair needs a brushing. But I also, like, yeah, I don't really want to brush out all my sparkles, so I kind of have to brush from the bottom up. It's true, and see hairs already. Instant thought of Charles Manson, him making dolls out of his hair. I'd be questionable about selling my genetic data to anyone. Personally, I don't even want to pay for it to be done, to know in a lab, like, what I am. But if I could have it done privately, you know, where I wasn't signing my rights away to them, you know, me basically checking the box for those two companies that are most famous for doing that. I don't want to do that. I'm pretty sure I'm Scottish. I'm pretty sure I know, like, my own Akashic vectors through my experience, and that's been pretty fascinating. No one can tell you your own truth. You're gonna have to come to your own recognizations and find your own tools, your own pieces, and your own magic. God, this is so magical. I just saw the back. Like, yeah, and also my phone's cracked, so it's not, there's no justice. I also have another better camera, so I think at my house that, we're gonna have to work on. I don't know, I'm trying to learn. And I'm also, like, learning to let some things go that aren't really serving me anymore, and I'm struggling to admit that they aren't serving me anymore. So I'm going to have to clear out all these densities, and it's going to start with taking a bath, it seems like. And then I have a session tonight with Karen Neverland, so I'm so excited, I'm so excited, I'm so excited. She's actually someone that makes me feel good, and it's been such a pleasure working with her, so we'll see what ends up coming up and clearing all this time. I feel bad because I'm not putting in what I'm supposed to, and I need to change that. So let me start on that. I love you. Thank you so much for your time. Namaste. Jai Bhagwan. May you accomplish all that your heart chooses to.